Happy Wednesday morning, everybody. Locations in the comments. Locations in the comments. We will get into this in a moment. Something I wanted to respond to here. Here it is. All right. Locations in the comments, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday. Everybody's having a great week so far. We are reaching the midway point. It's going to be our last dark morning. These dark mornings, I don't like when it's too dark for too long. We're about to have some bright mornings. It's going to be sun coming up 6 in the morning, starting on Sunday. Right? Daylight savings is this Sunday. Those of you who live in places where daylight savings is observed, I do. I'm on East Coast. I'm in South Florida. There will be daylight savings. So starting on Sunday, we get early mornings. It'll be bright outside at 6 in the morning. I like sunlight. So as y'all are coming in, again, locations in the comments, folks, locations in the comments so we can get to it. Topic here today, are billionaires exploiting SNAP recipients? We're going to talk about this. Are the billionaires, the oligarchs, the oligarchy, using Bernie Sanders language, are these oligarchs the ones who are exploiting the SNAP recipients? Are the SNAP recipients in the position that they're in because of these oligarchs making all the money? We're going to talk about that. There's a few things that got said yesterday that when I was on social media, and when I say social media, I'm mostly referring to X. That's the only place on social media where I actually engage with people posting shit. I don't respond to anything else anybody posts anywhere else. So any of you ever leave comments on my posts, I'm not responding to those. I do not read DMs. You want to reach me, you text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And where was this? Oh, yeah, there's another one. So there's several posts that people were putting out there yesterday about this, the billionaires and SNAP. We're going to talk about this here today. So as y'all coming in, locations in the comments. So we are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Are we live on X? We should be live on X. I don't even want to refresh this. Let me see if there's a way I can check. I'm just trying to check and make sure we are live on X as we should be. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. Live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. Let me make sure that's true. Yes, we are live on LinkedIn. My name on all of those platforms, LinkedIn, X, Rumble, and YouTube, is at Dre All Day. So all of those platforms at Dre All Day on LinkedIn, Rumble, X, and YouTube. We are live on Facebook, Facebook.com/Work on Your Game University. Make sure my comment is pinned over here on YouTube. We're live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin. Give me your location. Live on TikTok at Work on Your Game. Give me your locations in the comments. Angela Thomas, 4630 from Pinehurst, North Carolina. Good morning. 140.6 checking in from Walnut Creek, California. Shout out to the people on the West Coast up early, 5 in the morning on the West Coast. Shout out to the West Coast. And congrats to you on the first comment. A&E AFF from Kentucky. Good morning. And Abby and Annie, thank you for the gifts. Early Quinn, thank you for the gift. Everybody, thank you for the gifts in advance. I know a lot of you send gifts. I don't always see them when they come up in the comment feed, but I appreciate the gifts everybody sends through. Murphy the Mutt, Bristol, Tennessee. Good morning. L. Johnson, Union, New Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. Shout out to Trenton. Shout out to Newark. Shout out to Williamboro. Shout out to Camden. Shout out to Union, Jersey. L. Johnson, good morning. Fort Baptiste from Port-au-Prince, Heidi. Good morning. Carla, Indiana. Good morning. Leah, good morning. Thank you for the gift early. Vicky Veronique from Virginia. Good morning. Leah, thank you for the Go Popular. Big Shot 2 from Milford, Connecticut. Giga Dad, good morning from rainy North Carolina. We need the rain. That's how the grass grows, how we keep the trees healthy. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit, is in the house. Sherry, 1967, good morning. Marky Man, good morning. Courtney, checking in from Nashville. Shout out to Nashville. Beautiful place, Nashville. A little bit too cold in the wintertime, but still a beautiful place. Midnight Passions at Colorado. And yes, shout out to Colorado. Also a beautiful place. Too damn cold, but I like Colorado. Courtney, thank you for the heart early. Gene, upstate New York. Shout out to upstate New York. New York is a red state with one big blue city called New York City at the bottom southeast corner of it. Linda Gale, 1935, St. Louis. DJ Donamites, good morning. Marky Man, Sacramento, thank you for the gift. Sherry, 1967, thanks for the share. Mr. Battle, 791. Leah, Thank you for the gifts. The Quilting Nana from rural Missouri. All right, shout out to rural Missouri. Mia, thank you for the lightning bolts early. Quail Ridge from Lincoln, California. Shout out to everybody up early on the West Coast. Jolly Red Silver, good morning. Murphy the Mutt, thanks for the share. Giga Dad, thanks for the lightning bolt. Midnight Passion, Colorado Springs. Beautiful place. Yes, it is. Sold by Misty. Hey, checking in from Charlotte. Shout out to Charlotte. I've been to a lot of these places. So shout out to all you people in these places that we've been all over our beautiful country of the United States of America. So the topic here today is, are billionaires, this is a question we're going to answer, are billionaires exploiting the recipients of SNAP benefits? We touched on this. Did we talk about this a little bit yesterday? By the time we get to these lines, I forget what I even talked about the day before. But I think we did talk about this, the SNAP benefit recipients in the United States of America, and how much money they're making, and how, we did talk about this. We talked about how the government shut down. My prediction still stands that it's going to be over by Friday. So I got about a little bit over 48 hours for that prediction to get proven right or wrong. I think it's going to be over by Friday, because if it's not over by Friday, then a bunch of workers, government workers, are not going to get their paychecks again. And a bunch of SNAP recipients are going to stop receiving their SNAP benefits, which means a bunch of people can't spend money. And we talk about the trickle down effects of that. As I explained to you all, trickle down is not about good things coming down to everybody. Good things do not flow downhill. Shit flows downhill. So if these people don't get their money on Saturday, or starting Saturday, these people are no longer getting their money, the shit is going to flow downhill towards everybody. It is not just about the people who receive those benefits, or if you're a federal worker. I am in neither category, but that will eventually find its way to everybody if the money's not circulating. There's no money circulating, we have a problem. And SNAP benefits is a reflection of money, because it is used as money for people to buy shit. And if people are not buying stuff, then the business owners don't have money, then other people don't have money, and y'all see where this goes. So I'm going to give you a couple of posts that I saw on social media yesterday that I'm going to engage with. So there's a post by Kelly. Her name on X is Broadway Baby TO, and she is based in Toronto, 35,000 followers. And she says the following. She said, the Walton family, those are people who own Walmart, very rich family. Sam Walton made so much money that when he put all his kids in his will, that all his kids and their spouses are all still in the Forbes list as billionaires, because even all the money that he created through Walmart split up among 6 or 7 or 8 people, it still makes everybody a billionaire. So the Walton family, those folks, she says they're worth $400 billion. That's about right. Yet many of their employees are on SNAP. This is also true. Then she says Jeff Bezos is worth $400 billion. Many Amazon employees require SNAP. Okay. And then she said the people who need help are not the problem, i.e. the SNAP recipients. They're not the problem. She said it's corporate greed. It's an unwillingness to pay a living wage. All right, so we know this is some nonsense, but we're going to address it anyway. And here's what I said. I told her this is false framing, because you could just as easily take that exact same information. And I want y'all to pay attention, because this is something you hear people saying all the time. They say, well, these are the facts. Is it a fact that Walmart has a bunch of SNAP recipients on their payroll? The answer is yes, it is. Is it also a fact that a bunch of people who work for Amazon receive food stamps? SNAP is food stamps, by the way. The answer is yes, that's true. It's also true that the Walton family is worth $400 billion. Jeff Bezos is worth $400 billion, probably something in that ballpark. These are also true. All of these things are facts. That does not mean that her conclusion is true, because you can, again, use facts to flip a frame any way that you want. And I said the following. I said you could just as easily flip this frame and say that those same companies are giving jobs to people who are on SNAP benefits, which puts them in position to work, which could actually help them start to get off of SNAP because they're making money from their jobs. You could easily say that. Why are you framing this as if the companies are causing these people to be on SNAP? See, that's the false frame. False frame is saying, well, Walmart, the people who own Walmart are worth billions of dollars, yet a bunch of people who work at Walmart are on SNAP. And the frame there is implying that because you work at Walmart, you still need to be on food stamps, when it could be the exact opposite. You're on food stamps. Now Walmart gave you a job. Even though you're on food stamps, they gave you a job. So maybe you could work your way off of being on food stamps. But again, when people want to create these false frames, this is exactly the kind of nefarious shit that they do. And a lot of people don't even notice that this is happening. So they easily get caught in this. Another person, this guy named John Collins, he is a hardcore TDS sufferer. John Collins. He has 211,000 followers on X. Is this guy right here? His X profile says that he is a dad, a husband, and a low key nerd. Fair enough. And he says some of you are mad because people are on Snap and not working. Again, that's SNAP in all capital letters. It's an acronym. What does that stand for again? A bunch of you told me yesterday. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. I think I remember it. Is that right? SNAP. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. I think that's what it means. So that's what John Collins says. He says some of you are mad because people are on Snap and not working. I'm mad because people are on Snap even though they are working. Again, there's a false binary. Some people are on Snap, and he's saying that his frame is you may be mad that people are on Snap and they don't have a job, i.e. these are the people that we say are just these useless eaters who are taking money from the government, our tax dollars, using them to feed themselves, and they're not working to earn any money themselves. He says there are people on Snap even though they have jobs, which is a way of intimating. Again, these people say it without saying it. They're intimating that even though some people have jobs, they're not making enough money at their job to take care of food, clothing, shelter, specifically food. So they still have to get SNAP benefits. And that is, again, intimating that the companies are not paying enough money and they're exploiting their workers. That's why the frame today is the frame. That's the question that we're going to answer here today. But I want you all to understand that this frame is a false binary. The false binary that John Collins puts out here, again, intimates it very cleverly, is that people who are on Snap while having a job shouldn't be on Snap because the job should pay them enough that they can't be on Snap. But he's only giving you two options. He's intimating two options. That's what makes it a false binary. Binary means you have two choices, but there's more than two choices. And I said some people are on Snap and they are working. As I just explained, you can be on food stamps and have a job. Maybe the job is just not providing enough and you qualify to receive the SNAP benefits. So you take the SNAP benefits and you take the money from your job, and hopefully all together you're able to make ends meet. This does not mean that the job is exploiting you or doing something wrong or they're not paying you enough money. We're going to get to that in a minute. Now, let me find the other post that I'm going to respond to. Nina Turner. There's a bunch of these. Nina Turner, who is a active race hustler, and she's much more of a social hustler than race hustler. Her hustle is not really so much about race. It is, but it isn't. Nina Turner, she has 617,000 followers on X. I don't know if any of you know Nina. She's been race hustling for a while. She's not quite at the Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson level, but she's like their niece. She's not their brother or sister. She's like the niece of these two. She used to be a state senator for the state of Ohio. Some of you may know her from that. She is a senior fellow at a place called Race Power Policy, which basically tells you she's an active race hustler. She's the national co-chair. She was the national co-chair of Bernie Sanders' 2020 election run. And she's the co-host of some show called The Group Chat. So Nina's out here active, race hustling and social hustling. She said the following. She says kind of stuff like this all the time. She says the cashier at Family Dollar, you know Family Dollar, the dollar store, they should be able to pay rent and bills with their paychecks. That is not radical to believe. That's fucking ridiculous to believe. Nina Turner's out of her damn mind. Here's what I said to Nina. I said, the cashier at Family Dollar is about to be a computer. And I told her to delete that post and stop saying the stupid shit that she says. So that's what's about to happen at Family Dollar. I'm not saying it should happen. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying this is the reality. Family Dollar is about to not have anybody working there. It's about to be a computer that basically does all the processing for you. There will be no human being. So there won't be a cashier at Family Dollar. And no, the cashier at Family Dollar should not be able to pay their rent and bills with their paycheck. Why? Because having a job, this is the false frame that a lot of people have when it comes to this living wage concept, is a lot of people are on this idea that just because you have a job, the job should pay you enough money to take care of yourself. Now, while I understand that when jobs first were coming about back in the Henry Ford days, I'm reading his autobiography, yes, that was the idea that a lot of business owners have. We want to make sure our employees are making enough money that they can take care of themselves, and maybe they can even become customers of the very products that they are creating. That's not the world that we live in anymore. Things have changed. So if you work at Family Dollar as a cashier, how valuable is your work in the marketplace? It's not that valuable, which is why you don't receive that much money. And the amount of money you receive is not enough for you to pay bills and pay rent with your paycheck because your work is just not worth that much. And this is the way the marketplace works. So what we're talking about here is a fundamental difference between the way people view the world. And the fundamental difference is, and some of you may have this view, the fundamental view that Nina Turner and others like her have is that because you are over here, you deserve all of these things. Just by your very existence, by the fact that you exist as a human being, all of these things are owed to you. They belong to you. You should get these things, i.e., a living wage, a certain amount of money, a certain ability to aspire to success, and a certain reasonable chance at achieving this level of success, however you define the word success. Nina Turner and people like her have this fundamental view of the world. I have a different view of the world. My view is much more of a practical view of the world, much more of a dark psychology, if you will, view of the world, which is all based on outcomes and based on not this utopian view that because you're here, you deserve A, B, C, D, E, and all these things should absolutely happen. It's because you're here, you have the opportunity for those things, yes, but if you aren't playing the game right, you're going to lose. That's the view that I have of the world. If you don't play the game right, you're going to lose. My background is in sports. I'm an entrepreneur, and you have to play the game to win. And if you don't play the game well, you lose the game. You can play, but you're going to lose. And this is the way that it works. And if you're working at a place like Family Dollar where your value to the marketplace is maybe $8 an hour, that's how much you get. Nina Turner says, well, if you work at Family Dollar, you need $25 an hour to make ends meet. So because you work there, you should get $25 an hour. I say, no, you're worth $8 an hour. That's your value. And that's what you get. You get $8. And if your value goes down to $7, you get $7. Your value goes down to $5, you get $5. We're not going to give you something just because you need it. What you need is not my responsibility as a business owner. It is not the marketplace responsibility. Your needs, every one of you listening to this right now, your personal needs as an individual person, as a mother, as a father, as a husband, a wife, as a member of society, contributing member of society, your needs are not the responsibility of the marketplace. Your needs are a responsibility of you. And what you need to do is go into the marketplace. And knowing that you need this amount, you have to ask yourself, how do I provide this amount of value to the marketplace such that the marketplace agrees with me? This is called sales. How do I get the marketplace to agree that I deserve this much because I'm going to offer them this product or this service? And again, product or service does not mean you have to start a business. Product or service can be the fact that you show up to work. Okay, I need to make $25 an hour. Where in the marketplace can I find someone who agrees that I am worth $25 an hour and they will give it to me in exchange for my time? Can McDonald's give me $25 an hour? No. Okay, then I can't work at McDonald's. Is Family Dollar going to give me $25 an hour? No. So I can't work at Family Dollar. Is Walmart going to give me $25 an hour? No. So I can't work at Walmart. Who does offer $25 an hour? Okay, this insurance company over here. Will they hire me? Right now, no. Why? Because I don't have the right skills. I don't have the license. Okay, let me go get the skills and the license so that they'll give me the $25 an hour. That's the way it works. Not you need to give it to me because I need it. It's I need it, so let me go figure out how to get it. That's the fundamental difference between me and people of Nina Turner's ilk. And I believe Nina actually believes the things that she's saying. Here's another one. This guy named Northwest C. His name is Seahawk. He has 27,000 followers on X. He says the following. And Northwest C is based in Austin, Texas. So shout out to Texas. But not shout out to Northwest C's post. Him as a person, I don't have a problem with, but his post is dumb. He said, y'all hate poor people and not the people who keep them that way. Okay, so Northwest C he comes from the family tree of Nina Turner. The problem is the people who are doing it to the people who are less fortunate, quote unquote fortunate. This is not really about fortune. But the people who don't have as much and the people who are not winning as much, the reason that they're not winning as much and they don't have as much is because there are other people with all the power. These are the oligarchs, Bernie Sanders language. These are the oligarchs who are making it hard on everybody else. These people are forcing these people to be losers. So the losers are losing because the winners are winning. All right, this is bullshit. And a lot of people believe this. Nina Turner, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Zoran Mamdani, and our friend here, Northwest C. The losers are losing because the winners are winning. And y'all need to be mad at the winners because they're winning and not looking at the losers and telling them, hey, how about y'all adjust your process to actually win? Here's what I said to Northwest C. Again, his statement is y'all hate poor people and not the people who keep them that way. I don't think anybody hates poor people. But anyway, poor, this is what I said to Northwest C. Poor is a mindset, is not a financial state, by the way. You don't have money, you're not poor, you're broke. Not having money is broke. Now, if you have a mindset that is very negative around money, and therefore you stay in that state of not having money, you stay in a broke state because your mindset is keeping you in a broke state, and because you agree with things like what Nina Turner said, that I work at Family Dollar, therefore I should make enough money to take care of my lifestyle and pay rent, even though I'm offering very little value in the marketplace. And that there are people out there who own these businesses who are keeping me poor, even though I'm voluntarily working at this job that I show up to on my own volition every single day. See, if you have that mentality, then you're poor. You're not broke, you're poor. Why? Because your mindset is going to keep you where you are no matter what happens. I can hand you $1 million. You'll be broke again in about 6 months. Why? Because your mindset. So giving somebody money doesn't change their mindset. Giving somebody money just changes their financial state. But financial states are temporary. Money comes and goes. The value of money goes down every minute. In the minutes that we've been talking right here, the value of your money in your bank account is less than what it was when I started talking. So just handing somebody money doesn't change anything. And a lot of people have this mentality, and it sounds good because the masses of people will buy into this. This is why concepts like what Nina says and Northwest C and Bernie Sanders and the others, they become very popular because the masses of people don't want to be challenged to think, nor do they want to be challenged to take responsibility for their own situations. This is why they're popular. And why concepts like what I'm saying, even though mine is much more accurate, aren't as popular because who are you talking to? All right, if you're saying something like this. So here's another one. Tired peasant. Her name is Horror Gorl, Gorl. She has 33,000 followers on X. She said, "You're not a Christian if you're praising 42 million people losing food benefits." That's what she said. You're not a Christian if you're praising 42 million people losing food benefits. So she took it to religion on you. She took it to religion to and what she did here, and I pointed this out, this is called emotional blackmail. This is emotional blackmail. This is when someone tries to use the emotions to tell you that you need to agree with their position. So she made it about Christianity. So praising 42 million people losing food benefits, I don't think anybody's praising it, but there are a lot of people who say, hey, why are we giving these food benefits to certain people when, hey, I'm working every day, I'm struggling, I'm trying to make ends meet too, but I'm not taking SNAP benefits because I don't want to hand out from the government. I want to earn it myself. There's a lot of people who are like that. There are a lot of people who are in that mindset. My parents were not rich growing up. I come from a lower middle class background. My parents never got on government assistance. And I've heard my mom even talk about it. I didn't want to get on government assistance. I did what I had to do to make sure that my kids were taken care of. And people saying that you're praising these people losing food benefits is a straw man argument, because I don't think anybody's praising it, but people do have challenges to it. And this has nothing to do with Christianity. This is an emotional blackmail trying to hold your Christianity against you to get you to agree with somebody. That's the blackmail. And then the straw man is reframing this whole conversation around you're praising something negative happening to another person. That's not what people are doing. People are having a discussion about it, which we're allowed to do. What she's trying to do is preclude. She's trying to walk around the conversation and make the conversation not happen by making you look like a bad person by even engaging in the conversation in the first place. That's why it's emotional blackmail combined with the straw man. So it's one of the reasons that I like to use X, because I get to note this nonsense that these people are doing. There was one more that I know I wanted to share with you all. Oh, here's another person. This guy named Leon Nissan, not actually Leon Neeson, Leon Nissan. So this is a troll account. He has 427,000 followers on X. And what he said, he was quote tweeting. So The Hill put out this post that said SNAP funding expiration would make 40 million people be affected. This guy named Oilfield Rando said 40 million people all eating, none of them paying for it. Absolute insanity. That's hyperbolic. And then Leon Nissan said SNAP feeds mostly children and mostly in red states. And then he goes and uses some ad hominem against this person. Again, social media stuff. This is a tricky frame that a lot of people like to use. They say, well, SNAP benefits are mostly paid for people who live in red states. So this is the argument. Oh, it's a red state thing over a blue state thing. So if you're a person who voted for Trump or you live in a red state, then you shouldn't be having a problem with SNAP benefits because SNAP benefits benefit more people in red states. While the fact SNAP benefits more people in red states than in blue states may be true, let's just assume that it is true, that's still a false frame. The reason why it's a false frame is because you got to look at who's in those states and who's actually receiving the SNAP benefits. You can't just look at the state itself. It's like if I said something like, well, Texas is a red state, so that means everything that happened in Texas is going towards conservative. That's not true. There are blue areas in Texas. The city of Houston, the city of Dallas, these are blue areas within the red state of Texas. The state of New York is a blue state, but most of New York is red. as far as the land area, most of New York is red. The city of New York is blue. So you can't just say the red state or the blue state. And people like to use this argument to try to argue Democrats versus Republicans. Well, the blue states do this and the red states do that. It's a false argument. What you need to look at is what's happening in the specific cities, and let's look at the specific people because we have this information available. So what I said is there's a much higher percentage of the black population who receives SNAP benefits, and that is a fact. If you look at SNAP benefit recipients, the percentage of white Americans, of all white Americans who receive SNAP benefits compared to all the white Americans is a much smaller number. The percentage of black Americans who receive SNAP benefits is about 25%, which is double the percentage that black people are in the general population of the United States of America. The percentage of white Americans who receive SNAP benefits is about half of white Americans' total population representation in the United States of America. But if you put the data that way, then it changes the whole conversation, which is why nobody puts the data that way, because again, they wouldn't even have a point if you made this argument. Here's another one. Melanie Diarigo. She has 65,000 followers on X. She is the executive director of NYH Campaign, the campaign for New York Health, whatever that is. She has a Blue Sky account, which will tell you exactly what you need to know about where she leans politically. The fact she's on Blue Sky and she's promoting it on her profile. For what it's worth. Here's what Melanie said. Layoffs since April. Amazon, 30,000 layoffs. Intel, 25,000 layoffs. Microsoft, 15,000 layoffs. Meta, that's Facebook, 3,600 layoffs. Target, 1,800 layoffs. Charter, I think that's a cable company, 1,200 layoffs. Paramount, TV company, 1,000 layoffs. Rivian, I don't know who they are, 600 layoffs. XAI, 500 layoffs. And then she says, reminder, Trump, of course, this is about Trump, of course. Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We talked about this, the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, for reporting accurate job numbers to cover up his handling of the economy. And here's my response to Melanie. This is a complete classic straw man argument. Why is this a straw man? One easy way to notice a straw man. I'll tell you a bunch of ways to notice a straw man argument because people use these all the time. Maybe I should fire up my soundboard here so y'all can, since I'm pointing out all these logical fallacies, we might as well use the soundboard. Oh, volume wasn't up. Let me do that again. Strawberry cheesecake. So this is a classic straw man. One way you can notice a straw man is when someone offers a piece of, and this is the tricky way to do the straw man. People are getting smarter these days. So people used to do blatant straw mans that were easy to point out if you knew what the straw man was. But now people like me have popularized pointing out the straw man. So now the people who like to use the straw man, they still do it. They just do it in a trickier way to where you got to be able to catch it. So now they've gone to another level and you got to catch them. It's kind of like internet hackers and security companies. There's like this cat and mouse game that's going on, spy versus spy. So what the new straw man argument is people will put out some factual information that is actually factual and is verifiably factually true. Let's assume her layoff numbers are accurate. Or let's assume these are facts. And this is what they use to defend themselves when you call them out on their nonsense, is that, well, these are facts. How you arguing with the facts? Well, here's how you argue with, quote unquote, the facts. I'm not arguing with the fact. What I'm arguing with is the frame around the facts. That's the straw man. It's the frame they put around the fact. She said Trump fired the head of the BLS for reporting accurate job numbers to cover up his handling of the economy. So the straw man here is she's trying to put this on Trump, number one. Number two, she's saying that he fired the head of BLS because he didn't want everybody to know that people are getting fired from their jobs. All right, that's a second straw. That's a double straw man at the same time. And she's saying this is because of his handling of the economy. That's a triple straw man. So she used three straw mans in one statement.
Oh, baby, it's triple. Oh, yeah.
And the reason she's doing this, of course, is she probably is a holder or a sufferer of TDS. Now, what I said, first of all, I pointed out as a straw man. Then I said this data has nothing to do with anything being covered up. What these numbers are, again, assuming that these are true, these hundreds of thousands of people getting laid off from their jobs, this is a reflection of technology replacing replaceable human beings at their jobs, because that is happening. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more here today. Replaceable human beings are being replaced at their jobs. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't make that happen. Technology made that happen. Your smartphone, your computer chips, the internet, AI, they made this happen. Automation is making this happen. This has been in the works for 20 years, everybody. This is not new. ChatGPT came out, like 3 years ago? This was in the works way before ChatGPT and AI, way before Donald Trump came into his second term. Is replaceable people are being replaced. They've always been replaceable people. Now they're actually getting replaced. That's the only thing that changed. All this other stuff has been going on already. So let me make sure. I think I did all the ones that these are all just posts that I was responding to on X yesterday, just seeing people saying ridiculous stuff. So what we're talking about here today, again, as I told you, is this frame that has been built around are billionaires exploiting SNAP recipients. So there have been heavy accusations here. Companies like Walmart and Amazon, we already talked about, they employ thousands of people. Now you have this Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, also known as food stamps. And there's a bunch of people who work for these companies who are on food stamps. But unless you know more information, how they get on food stamps, were they on food stamps before or after they got the job? Are they taking it as supplement? Are they taking it because the job doesn't pay enough? Are they worth anything else in the marketplace? If so, why are they working at Amazon or Walmart if they need more money? We don't have answers to these questions. But people take the raw information, they try to draw conclusions without complete information. This is how they're able to fool you if you don't know how to catch them in their nonsense. You don't know how to call out the faulty frames that they use in their arguments. So a federal government report in 2020 found that Walmart was among the top 4 employees of SNAP recipients in every state studied, with about 14,000 workers in 9 states receiving SNAP benefits. Again, that is not enough information to draw from which to draw any conclusions. Now, advocates argue that this is proof of quote unquote starvation wages. This is nonsense. This is the emotional blackmail right here. This is why y'all got to catch this stuff.
Emotional, damn it.
This is the emotional pull right here. They say they give you one piece of information, and then they draw an emotional conclusion to bypass your logic. The piece of information that they give is Walmart employs a bunch of people who get food stamps. That's true. That's the fact. Then they say this is proof that Walmart is only paying starvation wages, or they're not paying their living wage to their employees. That's the emotional blackmail right there. That's where they use the appeal to emotion. Now, first of all, there's no such thing as a living wage. Let's get that on the table. There is no such thing as a living wage. What people have fashioned a living wage to be is the amount of money that you believe a job should pay an employee so that employee can live. Food, clothing, shelter. But there's no such thing as a living wage. If I own a business, if I own a local pizza shop and I hire you to work for me, I am not required to pay you enough money so that you can pay for your food, clothing, shelter. That is not my job. That is your job, to make enough money to where you can pay for your food, clothing, shelter. Now, I'm going to tell you how much this job offers. Is this enough for you to pay your food, clothing, shelter? No. Do you need to pay your food, clothing, shelter? Yes. Then clearly you should not be working here. Let me go hire somebody else besides you. I will let you go, literally let you go, so you can go out into the open marketplace and earn what you believe you need. But it's not my job. I'm not responsible for that. Now, again, I understand when the pioneering entrepreneurs that help make America into what it is, the Henry Fords of the world, were the JP Morgans of the world, were creating their businesses. They did have this mentality. Let's make sure we pay our employees enough that they can enjoy themselves, they'll keep their jobs, and they can even be customers. They can buy a Model T car because they're paying enough money to actually pay for it even while they're working on it during the week. I understood that. This ain't that world. All right, things have changed. So if you're saying Walmart is paying starvation wages as if Walmart is doing something wrong, this also doesn't make sense on another level. Why are you still working there? If you believe Walmart is exploiting you, why do you keep coming to work? This is a question nobody can answer. So when Nina Turner comes out and says, or Bernie Sanders says Walmart's exploiting their employees, okay, well, why do you keep showing up to be exploited? I mean, this ain't slavery days. Back in the days of slavery, you couldn't leave. When you work at Amazon, you leave every day, or you go home every day, right? And then you come back. Okay, so how are you being exploited? You keep coming back to work if you're being exploited. It doesn't make any sense. Now, opponents say that a job, even a low-paid job, is still better than no job. I agree. And that the market forces determine wages. I also agree. I've already explained this to you. All right. You don't get your wages based on a charitable belief by me that I have to pay you enough money so that you can take care of yourself. Now, I understand there is an argument for that. You pay your workers enough money, they can take care of themselves. They'll be happy. They'll keep working there. They'll keep their job. You don't have to keep trying to replace people. I agree. At the same time, if Artificial intelligence and automation and systems can replace humans to where I don't have any humans working for me. Therefore, the money that I'm spending on payroll can be redistributed back into the business, or it can go into my pocket as a business owner. It is my responsibility to make myself rich and make myself money because I took the risk by starting this business in the first place. Definition of an entrepreneur is a person who starts or runs a business enterprise while taking on greater than normal financial risk. I deserve to participate in that upside. I'm not responsible for taking care of you. I'm responsible for paying you if I give you a job. If I say this is the job, this is how much you get paid, this is how often you get paid, I am responsible for making sure that my payroll checks clear every other Friday. I am responsible for paying you because I told you I will pay you every month. I owe you money, I'll pay you money. But I'm not responsible for making sure you make a certain amount of money just because you have a job and it happens to be here. That's the fundamental difference here. And this is going to become more and more obvious to everybody. You may not agree with me here today. I don't know how you could not agree with me because obviously my argument is logically sound. But if you don't agree with me, don't worry. It's 2025. Give it to about 2035. It'll be so obvious that you won't even have oxygen to argue against this anymore. So it's going to become super obvious in the next 10 years. So behind this is a deeper clash. What is a living wage, quote unquote? I just told you that doesn't exist, but we're going to talk about it. Who decides the living wage? That's another very strong argument. If you do agree with the concept of a living wage, who decides? The boss or the worker? If there's a living wage. And what is the responsibility of employers versus government versus workers? All right, let's talk about all this. Let me introduce myself first, for those who don't know me. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our focus here is on what you can see if you're on TikTok, or y'all can see this book right above me called The Power Presence Protocol. That right there. Instagram, y'all see it right there. If you're on X, Rumble, Facebook, it's right there. Power Presence is all about controlling the room, commanding the room without speaking. This is controlling attention, drawing attention, shifting the energy, and leaving an imprint on people without saying a single word, such that when you do speak, all it does is multiply the impression that you've already made, which means your sales are easier, your communication is easier, getting cooperation is easier, getting people out of your way is easier. Anything that you try to do consciously will become 85% easier when your presence is in its proper space. We have a whole program called the Power Presence Protocol built around this. Click the link in my bio or profile or in the pinned comment. Y'all can learn more about that working with me directly. So, workers at large corporations, many workers at large corporations rely on Snap. Now, this, even the point of saying many is almost like the whole world is on Snap, which is not true. Now, in a multi-state study, Walmart employed a bunch of employees receiving Snap benefits across several states. In Arkansas alone, 3% of the state's SNAP recipients were Walmart workers. I don't think that's some crazy thing. I mean, isn't Walmart based in Arkansas? I mean, you got to be very careful, ladies and gentlemen. I tell y'all this all the time when we're looking at data. It's very easy to manipulate people's emotions with data. You give them the facts, quote unquote. You call it facts, make sure they know it's a fact. And often if you frame something around telling people that it's a fact, that is statistically true, most people do not have the chops to point out where you could still be lying to them because you already told them that you're giving them a fact. It's really that simple. You tell someone you're giving them a fact, and then you draw a conclusion from that fact that is not based in facts. It's just based in your perspective and the frame that you want to build. Most people don't have the ability to dissect and separate the fact from your frame. And when you can separate facts from frames, that's when you start noticing logical fallacies. So when you see me pointing them out and using my soundboard here, that's often what I'm doing is I'm separating the facts from the frame. And sometimes people just go straight to the frame. Those are easy. But when they combine the facts and the frame, that's when you gotta have a higher level of being able to discern people's bullshit. Now, high reliance on Snap does not automatically prove that people are being exploited. It doesn't prove it at all. Not automatically, not later. It doesn't prove anything. Just because a bunch of people are on Snap does not mean that they're being exploited by wages. Because again, how can you be exploited by wages when you keep voluntarily showing up to the job? Let's get a definition of the word exploit, so we're all on the same page here. For those of you who are new around here, I like to give definitions of certain terms so when we are discussing them, especially when we get to a term that is basically the crux of the conversation. Definition of the word exploit is to take unfair advantage of. Now, this is a tricky definition. Even the definition is tricky because it uses this word called unfair. The problem with the word fair is that the word fair is highly subjective. Even by definition, it's subjective. And the word fair by definition means marked by justice, honesty, and freedom from bias. Well, who's the judge of that? So to say something is exploiting, if you're exploiting somebody, that means you are taking unfair advantage of. Well, who decides what's fair and what's not fair? I got an answer to that question. Any of you know the answer? Anybody in the comments? Who decides what's fair versus what's not fair? There's an answer to this question. Who decides? Questions in the comments. Answers in the comments. Who decides what's fair versus what's not fair? So a bunch of you are saying you do. Okay, you is one, but I'm looking for a different answer. I see you. Somebody said God. Someone said we the people. No, definitely not we the people. You, us, the two parties, no one, the majority. Ramon Robinson, you're the closest to the answer. Who decides what's fair and what's not fair? And none of you really gave the answer. The answer is based in what some of you may know as the golden rule. All right, the golden rule is the basic golden rule that many of you know about is do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I'm talking about the other golden rule. The other golden rule, and Ramon Robinson, you got it. And Ramon knows. He's the only one who really gave the answer that I'm looking for, is the person with the gold makes the rules. That's the real golden rule. See, y'all got the golden rule. The preschool golden rule is do unto others as you would have others do unto you. But we all know, any of you who's over the age of 18, you know that just because you do good to other people does not mean they're going to do good back to you. That people tend to forget those things. All right, gratitude is a burden. Revenge is a pleasure. The real golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules. So whoever has the power decides what's fair and what's not fair. That's how it works. Any of you who's a parent, if you have a child who's 8 years old and you say it's time for dinner and they say, well, I want ice cream, and you say, no, you got to eat this chicken and vegetables, then maybe you'll get ice cream after that. And your child says, that's not fair. What do you say? Parents, I ask you this question. Put it in the comments. What do you say? You say to your kid, time to eat your vegetables and your chicken, and they say, I want ice cream. You say no, and they say, that's not fair. What do you say? What's your response? Parents, in the comments, what is your answer to the question? Y'all say that's life. You say tough. Say life ain't fair. AJ says, shouldn't we the people have power? No. Life ain't fair. That's the rule. Life's not fair. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. Life's not fair. I'm the dad. I make the rules. Exactly. So all of you understand this inherently. You just didn't get it when I asked the question the other way. See, when I reframed the question, all of you got the answer right. What I say goes, I'm the parent. I'm the boss. It's my house. The world is not fair. Life's not fair. Exactly. UCC said adoption center. Are you going to call Child Protective Services? Come get them? Okay, fair enough. The point is all of you understand this. All of you understand when I frame the question differently. You see how when I reframe the question, all you got the question right? So this is the power of framing, first of all. Yep, I wasn't even trying to teach you that or show you that, but it's also all of you get this. The person with the power makes the rules. That's it. The person with the power makes the rules. So if you work at a job, who has the power? The person who writes the check. That's it. They got the power. Because the only reason you work there is to get the check. So they have the power because they control the very reason that you show up. So they have the power. And there's nothing wrong with admitting this. I've had plenty of jobs. I've had probably more jobs than most of you who are listening to this, even though I don't work jobs anymore. Because the person with the power to write the check has the leverage in the situation, that does not mean that they are exploiting you because you don't like the situation. Again, if your 8-year-old says, I want ice cream, and you say no ice cream, are you exploiting your child? No, it's not an exploitation. It's you making the rules. Why? Because you got the power to make the rules, and you get to set the rules because it's your situation. It's your domain. You get to make the rules. Okay, you don't like the rules at this domain. Okay, you can go down to the group home, and you can see how the ice cream is there. All right, you won't be eating ice cream. You're going to be eating some sleep. You'll be eating sleep for dinner. All right, if you don't like the rules here. All right, this is the way it works for the most part. So to say that this is exploitation doesn't make any sense. Companies like Walmart, they provide employment access, which they don't have to give. They provide tracks that you can move up if you're a good worker. And Walmart does not set the minimum wage laws. All they do is pay the minimum wage to people who are worth the minimum wage. Walmart doesn't make the minimum wage laws. You don't like the minimum wage, then you vote in your local elections, get the minimum wage raised. But understand, elections have consequences. You raise the minimum wage too high, what happens is you find out what the real minimum wage is. This is explained by a very thoughtful philosopher and author by the name of Thomas Sowell. Y'all familiar with Thomas Sowell? How many of you have read at least one Thomas Sowell book? Put me if you have, put no if you have not. How many of you have read at least one book by an author by the name of Thomas Sowell? Sowell. If you read any of his books, then you know who he is. I don't have to spell his name. If you haven't read his books, then you don't know who he is. So I'm getting more no's than I thought I would get. All right. Y'all need to go look up Thomas Sowell, Sowell. He's a black guy. He's probably 90-something years old. He's probably written about 90 books. And he writes about economics. He writes about race. He writes about gender. He writes about what we now know as DEI. But he's a thinking guy. He's done a lot of writing over the years. And one of the things I heard him say when they talk about, him and Friedman. Yes, Friedman was basically, he learned at the feet of Milton Friedman. And Thomas Sowell's still alive. Friedman's passed away. Sowell. But moment after the guy's heart, if you just type that in, it'll come up. Thomas Sowell. I've read probably 8 of Thomas Sowell's books. And one of the things Thomas Sowell said, and this is the thing all of you need to understand, people talk about a living wage. Well, we need a living wage, or we need to raise the minimum wage. No such thing as raising the minimum wage. That's another misnomer. Living wage is not a real thing. There's no such thing as a living wage, number one. Number two, there's no such thing as raising the minimum wage. You're like, Dre, what do you mean there's no such thing as raising the minimum wage? Because the minimum wage is 0. The minimum wage is 0. You want to know what the minimum wage is? Don't ask somebody who works at McDonald's how much money they make. That's not the minimum wage, because they're making something. You want to know what the minimum wage is? Ask somebody who has no job how much they make. All right, that's the minimum wage, 0. Minimum wage is you don't have a job and you make no money. Here's what happens when the minimum wage gets raised. For those who don't understand the economics of it. Let's say I run a pizza shop. Okay, we'll use this example. Very simple. I got 3 people who work for me. I pay them each $10 an hour. They each work 5 hours a day. Let's keep the math simple. So $10, 5 hours a day. That means each of my workers, my 3 workers, are making $50 a day. Everybody got it? 3 workers, $50 a day. That means my payroll every day is $150. Now, here comes, I live in Florida. So let's just say this happens. This is not going to happen, but let's say it happened. Ron DeSantis decides, or whoever the governor is, they decide we're going to raise the minimum wage, or it's voted to raise the minimum wage. It has to be voted for. So the residents of Florida decide to vote to raise the minimum wage. Now the minimum wage is $20. Now my payroll has doubled. So instead of paying everybody $10 an hour, I got to pay them $20. Now I got 3 workers. I got to pay them each $20 an hour, 5 hours a day. So now my payroll went from $150 a day to $300. Is that right? $300 a day? $20 an hour, $300 a day. My payroll is doubled. Here's the problem. I don't want to pay $300 a day in payroll because I'm only bringing back $200 a day in profits. So my business, not profits, but revenue. I'm doing $200 a day in revenue. Okay. Now, when I was paying my workers $150 a day, I was taking home $50 of profit every day. I was happy. But now if I got to pay them $300, I'm losing $100 a day. If I got to pay them $20 an hour. Everybody following my math here? So what am I going to do? Well, I got a few options. I can just keep paying them $20 an hour, 3 people every day, and I can basically go underwater and drown and go broke in my own business. I could do that. That's one option. Probably not going to do that. Another option is here's what the other options are. What I would do is I'm probably going to fire somebody. Probably fire one of my workers. So I had 3 people earning $10 an hour. Now they all making 20. Okay, one of them's getting fired. The least productive one's getting fired. So now I got 2 people making $20 an hour, and they're making, again, 5 hours. So what's that? $100 a day. So now my payroll is still $200 a day. But that's all of my revenue. My revenue is $200 a day. So now I'm breaking even. So basically I am right at the water levels, like right at my mouth right now. I can breathe out of my nose and I can see, but other than that, I'm about to drown if I spend one more dollar. Because I'm paying $200 a day in payroll between 2 people, $20 an hour, 5 hours a day, and I'm only making $200 in revenue. So guess what I'm going to do next? I'm going to fire somebody else. I'm going to fire the next least productive person. I'm going to leave myself with 1 worker. Now I have 1 worker making $20 an hour for $5 a day. Now my payroll is now how much? $100 a day. It was $150 when I was paying $10 an hour. I was spending $150 a day paying wages to employees. Now that they raised the minimum wage to $20, I went from 3 employees to 1 employee, and my payroll went down from 150 to 100. Now, some of you may be thinking, damn, I thought raising the minimum wage would meant employers would spend more money. Why? Because they have it, right? Walmart has money. Amazon has money. They can spend more money paying their workers. Why can't they just dig into their gold, their basement full of gold, like Scrooge McDuck, and just start paying everybody because they already got the money? This is the assumption that the Nina Turners of the world and the Bernie Sanders of the world make. Well, they already got a bunch of money, so why don't they just take that big bag of money that they got, dig into it, and just pay more money to the people who work for them? Well, here's the problem, and this is the reason why people like Bernie Sanders and Nina Turners and these others shouldn't be talking about these things, because they have no idea how business works. They don't even understand the concept of the mindset of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur does not become an entrepreneur because out of the goodness of their heart, they decide to give all their money away to their employees. That's not the way it works. Doesn't mean you don't have employees. Doesn't mean you don't pay them what they're worth and what they're worth in the marketplace. But you don't just give your money away just because you got it. That doesn't work that way. All right, most people ain't Bill Gates giving away money, or who's that chick who just gave away a bunch of money? Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. She gave like what she give? $30 million to some HBCU. Most people are not just giving away their money. All right, people accumulate money and they have a right to. This is a capitalistic society. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if you raise the minimum wage, what I'm going to do is go from 3 employees to 1. So 2 people are going to lose their jobs, and 1 person, they're making double the money, but you're doing triple the work. Everybody follow? I had 3 employees. Now I got 1. I still need the same amount of work done. So that 1 person for $20 an hour, you got double the money. Now you got to do the work of 3 people instead of doing the work of 1 person. So I tripled your work, but doubled your money. So you actually lose, even though you make more money. That's what really happens when you raise the minimum wage. See, Bernie Sanders is not going to tell you that part. Because Bernie Sanders doesn't understand it, because Bernie Sanders never run a business. He doesn't have to think about that part. All you got to think about is what's going to win me some votes. I get it. I understand his hustle. But he doesn't know what he's talking about. Neither does Zoran Mamdani, neither does AOC, neither does Nina Turner, and a bunch of other people. But it sounds good. It sounds great, right? When you're talking about it, we got to raise minimum wage. We got to give everybody a living wage. People should be able to pay their bills if they work at Family Dollar. Nina Turner on her sounding stupid. Sounds good. But as we all know, reality tends to be a little bit different from the lab tests. When you raise the minimum wage, what actually happens is a bunch of people lose their jobs. That's what really happens. Now, why does this happen? If I run a business and I'm paying 3 people $10 an hour, you know why I'm paying them $10 an hour? Because that's what they're worth. They're worth $10 an hour. That's why I paid them $10 an hour. You're worth $10, you get $10. If you were worth 20, I would have been paying you 20 from the beginning. I'm paying you 10 because that's what you're worth. The amount of production that you produce from my pizza shop is worth $10 an hour to me. So if the governor or the state says you got to pay this $10 person $20, I'm automatically looking at that like that is a stupid idea. I can't pay $20 to a $10 person. Would you pay $20 to a $10 person? Or would you pay $100,000 for a smart car? Okay, probably not. Why not? Because it's not worth $100,000. It's worth $15,000 or whatever a smart car costs. All right, y'all, we have a marketplace for a reason. There's value in the marketplace for a reason. You don't pay more for something than what it's actually worth, because if you do that, you are losing money. You're not making a fair exchange. Only time anybody buys anything is if you believe you are getting equal or better value for the amount of money you give up in order to get the thing that you're paying for. If McDonald's starts charging $20 for a hamburger, would you buy a hamburger? No, because the hamburger's not worth $20. In a couple of years, it might cost $20. It might actually be costing $20. But between now and then, you're not paying $20 because it's not worth $20. So if I have a worker who makes $10 an hour and the government says you got to pay that person $20, I'm saying I'm not paying this person $20. I'd be losing $10 every hour. Everybody follow the math. If you're worth $10 an hour and I'm paying you 10, we're good. But if the government says now you must pay this person 20, that means every hour that I pay you, I'm losing $10 because your production is worth $10, but I'm paying you 20. So that means I'm losing $10 every hour that I pay you money. I'm basically putting myself out of business by paying you. So by paying you, I'm closing my business. So I got to fire you because you're not worth the money that the government has mandated that I pay you. See, when the government mandates a minimum wage, what I'm going to start doing is looking at my workers and saying, is this person worth this amount of money? Is this person worth $20 an hour? Because that's the minimum I can pay. So anybody who works for me, they got to be worth at least $20 an hour. Okay, you ain't worth 20, you're not worth 20, and you're not worth 20. So I might have to fire all 3 of you, but I need somebody to work for me. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fire 2 of you, Now I'm going to get one of you to do the work of 3 people. So now you're actually worth 30 because you're doing 3 people's jobs. You're worth 30, but I'm going to pay you 20. So that means every hour that you work, I actually make $10. So I'm making money off your back. Now, am I exploiting you? Because some of you may say, well, Jerry, that's exploitation. I say, no, the hell it isn't. Here's why. It's not exploitation. Reason number 1 is because you accepted it. So I can't be exploiting you because you are voluntarily accepting it. Number 2, because I'm the one who started this business and put up all the risks to start the business. So for me to profit off of your effort is how it's supposed to go because I'm the one who started the business. You want to profit off your effort or off other people's effort, you start a business, you take all the risks, and let's see how it works out for you. If you don't want to take any risk, you want the risk completely removed to where you just make profit as a worker, then you come work for me. Yes, I'm making more money off of your effort than you're making off your effort, but that's what employment is. You understand that your boss, any of you who's ever been employed, you understand that your company that you work for makes more money off of your work than what you make off of your work. You understand that, right? Is that news to anybody? LeBron James has a contract this year for the LA Lakers where he makes, let's say, $50 million, however amount of money it is. Now, he hasn't actually played in the game yet, but let's just say he was playing. The LA Lakers organization makes more than $50 million off of LeBron's efforts than what LeBron makes off his efforts. So LeBron makes $50 million. The Lakers organization is going to make, let's say they make $400 million from LeBron's efforts. That's what employment is, everybody. Your employer is making more money off of you than what they're paying you. Because if they weren't, then why would they employ you? If they're losing money off of paying you, they're going to fire you. That's what happens. I'm losing money by employing you, so you know what? You're fired. If I'm making money by employing you, then you can keep your job. Now, if you don't like this situation, you consider this to be exploitation. Here's what you do. You can't fix this because this is the way it's designed. What you do is you start your own business and you pay everybody exactly what you make off of them. You give it back to them. Let's see how long your business lasts. Any of you think what I just explained is exploitation? Any of you think LeBron James being exploited by the Lakers? They're going to make $400 million off of him this year. He's getting paid $50. So that means they made a $350 million profit off of LeBron James. Is he getting exploited? I mean, it's the same thing. Is he getting exploited? If you think he is, here's what you do. You start a business, and every dollar you make off your employees, you give them 100% of that money. And then tell me in a year where you are. I'll tell you where you're going to be. You're going to be broken out of business because you didn't make any profit. You didn't take any money home. Because every dollar of profit that you made off the backs of your employees, you gave it back to them. You ain't got no money left. And costs keep going up. You still got to pay for your goods and services and your whatever goods and services. You got to pay rent for your building and whatever else costs that you have. You're out of business. It's over. Thanks for playing. Robert Kiyosaki used to call this the gong show because it's just knocking people out of the game who don't understand how this game works. And you keep listening to Bernie Sanders, this is where you're going to end up. Or AOC, his granddaughter AOC, or Zoran Mamdani, this is where you're going to end up. Or Nina Turner. This living wage concept is ambiguous. It is very influential, but it's complete nonsense. Public discourse says that living wage should cover everything you need to survive: food, clothing, shelter, transportation, rather than what the labor market value says. All right, so this is going against the very essence of what capitalism is about. Capitalism is about what does the market say. If you want $100,000, you have to give $100,000 to the market. You got to find someone, somewhere, or a combination of somewheres in the market that's willing to add up to giving you $100,000 in cash in exchange for what you offer. That's how capitalism works. The market tells you how much it values you. If you don't like what the market is telling you, then you change what you're offering to the market will change its response to you, period. It is not, I don't like what the market is offering me, so I'm going to force the market to give me what I say I deserve. Right? That is not capitalism. What do y'all call that? What's the word for that? I think I'm worth this, so I'm just going to force the market to give it to me just because I want it. That ain't capital. That's not how capitalism works. You want more value, you got to bring more value to the table, period. So this whole concept of a living wage is complete nonsense. This is not even a real thing. Economic theory says wages should reflect, well, they do reflect supply, demand, productivity, cost of business, and competitive restraints. Yes, that's how wages work. If you want to take the lid off of your, we'll reveal this on Instagram, I see you over there. If you want to take the lid off of your income potential, then the only thing you can do is you must, in some way, shape, or form, become an investor or an entrepreneur. That's the way you take the lid off of your income potential. How many of you are familiar with or have read the books of author by name of Robert Kiyosaki? Give me a yes or a no if you have ever read anything written by Robert Kiyosaki. Yes or no in the comments. Have you read Kiyosaki at all? He wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He got another one called Cash Flow Quadrant. He probably got 20 books. Has any of you read anything by Robert Kiyosaki? Yes or no? Okay, I'm getting about 50-50 on this. Yes, yeses and nos. Okay, some of y'all need to take a trip to the library or Amazon.com and get some of these books. All right, get Thomas Sowell. Go look up Thomas Sowell. He probably got 100 books. Pick one that sounds interesting to you and read it. Doesn't matter which one. Robert Kiyosaki, look up his book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You can probably find the PDF on the internet for free. Sorry, Robert, your PDF's on the internet for free. So y'all go find Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, read that. Robert Kiyosaki popularized this thing that he calls the cash flow quadrant. Cash flow quadrant is a very simple concept. He talks about if you want to have more cash flow or more income earning potential. He wrote a whole book on the concept, so I'm simplifying it very much, but y'all should read it. Read it in his words. He probably has videos on YouTube where he explains it too. On the left side of the quadrant, you have the employees and the small business owners, often people who are basically people who own their own jobs. It's like one person working by themselves. That's the small business owner. You have the employees. These are people who get paid often last, i.e. everybody else gets their cut and you get what's left. You get taxed the most and you get the fewest tax benefits, tax shelters from the United States government, the employees and the small business owners. So the small business owner could be somebody who's like a lawn mower. You just mow lawns yourself, or you're a babysitter. You technically, it's a business. It's just you. If it's just you, you have no employees, and that's the structure of your business. You're a sole proprietor. Those are the entrepreneurs and the sole proprietors. They get taxed the most. They get to keep the least amount of their money. They have the least financial flexibility in terms of how their money works. On the right side of the equation, and it's a quadrant, so it's like a square. So you got the E's and the S's on the left, and you have then you have the business owners, which is the B, and the investors, which is the I on the right side. Business owner is a person who owns a business where you have other people's efforts making you money. Could be yourself as well as other people. And the investor is a person who owns a piece of or outright owns a business. So if you invest in stock, you're an investor. You own Bitcoin or crypto, you're an investor. When you invest, you buy a piece of a business, and when the value of that business goes up, the amount of money you own or the value of your investment goes up. So if I buy $100 in Apple stock and Apple stock doubles, then my $100 is now worth $200. If I sell it, then I just made a $100 profit. That's investment. Business owners and investors get the most tax breaks. So they get the most freedom and leverage to write things off on their taxes. So when you hear people talk about tax write-offs, you need to be an investor or a business owner to write things off on your taxes for the most part. This is not financial advice, by the way. Please speak to a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions. So these people get to write things off on their taxes. They get tax breaks. They get their money first. Then they pay everybody else. See, when you're Walmart, you're the business owner. So when a customer comes in and spends $300, Walmart has $300. They pay out their suppliers. They pay for their not the labor, but the equipment. They pay for the taxes. They pay the rent of the building. And then whatever is left, that's what they pay out to the employees. The employees get paid last. Here's another bad thing that happens when you're an employee. You get taxed first. Any of you ever had a job back in the days when you used to actually get a paycheck? So not now. Most of you get direct deposits. But back in the days when you used to get a paycheck, if you looked at your paycheck, you noticed something. That if you had a job that paid you $10 an hour and you worked 10 hours, then your paycheck should be $100. But if you look at your check, you know it wasn't $100. Your check might be $63. Where'd the $37 go? Everybody know the answer to the question. It went to your taxes. The United States government, before you see a dollar of your own money, they take all of their cut off first. You get paid last. When you're an employee or a sole proprietor, you make your money last. Well, technically not with the sole proprietors, mostly with employees. Employees get taxed immediately. All right, your taxes get taken straight out of your check before you get the check. So the government gets their cut. When you're a business owner or investor, the government gets paid last instead of getting paid first. And you have flexibility in how you're going to pay the government and how much you pay the government because you have all these options of deductions and things that you can write off and take out of your tax bill so that you don't have to pay as high of a tax bill as possible. You all can remember back in 2016, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And Hillary kept harping on Donald Trump won't submit his tax returns. And Donald Trump was saying, I'll get to it. He kept putting it off. I don't think he ever released his tax returns. And one of the things that Hillary said, well, Donald Trump won't release his tax returns because he's probably not paying that much in federal income taxes, and he's keeping all the money for himself. And Donald Trump responded in a way very different from most politicians. I still remember this to this day. Most politicians would try to filibuster that and walk over top of it, act like it didn't happen, and try to paper over it like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm an honest citizen, and I pay my fair share, and the Joe Biden pay your fair share nonsense. Donald Trump said, he didn't say that. He said? He said, that's smart. You're not supposed to pay money to tax. You're not supposed to pay a whole bunch of money in taxes. If I'm saving, I'm paying as little in taxes as possible. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. That's what an entrepreneur does. You pay as little in taxes as possible. And of course, when I say this, of course, you get people saying, well, what if everybody did that? Well, here's the problem. Everybody ain't fucking doing it. Most people are employees. They can't do it. They don't have the flexibility to do it. So I'm not saying anything that I'm telling you here, everybody, quote unquote, is going to do it. Between everybody who's watching here, there are probably about, looking at all of my live counts, about 300 people watching me live right now. Let's say another 10,000 watch this later. Now, that's less than 1% of people in America. All right, so everybody ain't going to do it. I'm talking about the people who are listening to me. You do it. You can do it. It ain't about everybody. Everybody's not going to do anything smart because doing smart things takes effort. And most people don't want to give effort. Most people ain't that smart. Most people don't think and they don't read. So don't worry about everybody doing anything. That will never happen. So if every employee raised wages simply because they could, costs of things might shift. So corporate managers argue that wage hikes trigger cost inflation, fewer hires, shorter hours, or increased automation. That's exactly what happens. You got to understand that human beings respond to incentives. So if I run a business and you make me pay my employees more, I'm going to start firing employees so I can save money. I'm not increasing my payroll just because you said I got to give people more money. I'm going to keep my payroll exactly where it is. And if that means I got to fire a bunch of people to balance it out, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And the people who got to keep their jobs, they're going to look around and notice, okay, it used to be 20 of you working here. Now it's only 6 of you. I understand. Be happy you still have this job. I'm not going to say that in so many words. They're going to get it, though. Be happy you still have this job. And because you're happy that you have this job, each of you has to do the work of 3 people now. You used to have to do the work of 1 person. Now you got to do the work of 3 people. You don't want to do it. You can be unemployed like the rest of them. What you want to do? Now, some of you may say, well, that's exploitation, Joy. That's not fair. Well, again, who makes the rules? Remember the golden rule, folks. Person with the gold makes the rules. That's how it works. Now, SNAP household data complicates some narratives because they say that 23% of SNAP households have incomes above $80,000 and 53% have incomes between $40,000 and $80,000. Households, they say. This is a survey by this company called Numerator. Now, again, you want to believe this or not? 23% of SNAP recipient households have incomes above $80,000 a year. Did y'all know that? I didn't know this. This is what the data says. Look at that. What is that? Come here. My son just came in with a Halloween costume on when he left, so y'all won't get to see it. 23% of SNAP households have an income above $80,000 a year. You want to show your costume? Okay, why you keep opening the door? High incomes in some SNAP households don't mean low-wage jobs are fine. So they say SNAP beneficiaries report that 68% say that the benefits of SNAP barely covers their nutritional needs. So according to this, so this is to be believed, that the increased cost of food, clothing, shelter is still barely being covered by the SNAP benefits that are being handed out. Come here, son. That are barely being covered by, what'd you say?
Come here, what?
Can I see your costume? What is this?
That's the dinosaur thingy.
No, you're a dinosaur?
Yeah, just something.
What kind of dinosaur are you?
T-Rex.
Oh, you're a T-Rex. What does a T-Rex do?
Right.
All right. Do you like this costume?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, this might be a little bit hot. There's a lot of fabric here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to go trick-or-treating in a couple days?
Yeah.
Yeah, and get a lot of candy. I don't know how much of that candy you're going to eat. You ate a lot of candy the other day.
Yeah.
Do you have more costumes?
Only one.
Only one?
Yeah.
Okay, this looks good. So you're going to be a dinosaur, or I thought you wanted to be a ghost or a witch?
Oh, I want to be a dinosaur.
You want to be a dinosaur?
Yeah.
Okay. Is going to be this one, or you got a different one?
This only one.
Only one?
Yeah, but this looks a bit good.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Yeah.
Does it feel good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. No, question. Question. You're doing a good job of covering your mouth. You've been listening when I tell you to cover your mouth. You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I'm going to wipe your hand off. Yes, good job. Thank you for covering your mouth. All right, I'm in the middle of my live stream. You want to sit here or you want to leave?
I'll sit here.
Okay. So let's continue. We're talking about SNAP benefits. You know what SNAP is?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you don't need to know. So they say 68% of beneficiaries say that the benefits barely cover their nutritional needs. So this is about allegedly costs are so high that even with the SNAP, they're still barely getting by. Now, do I believe that this is true? On some levels, I do. On some levels, I believe this is true. That you can have a household, and again, a household, you don't know how many people we're talking. So a household, let's assume it means at least 2 people, and that there's kids involved. So you got a mom, dad, or maybe just a mom, or just a dad, and their kids in the house, and they have to pay for food, then and their housing and their every other expense, and they're saying it's still barely covering their expenses. Again, you could have 5 kids, you could have 7, you could have 3, you could be paying who knows what else you could be paying for, maybe medical expenses, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things you could be paying for in this process, and it's still not enough to cover everything. Is this an ongoing issue that is a creeping issue for Americans in general? My answer is yes, it is. This is a creeping issue for all Americans. That, and maybe some people who are listening to this right here, that the increased costs of living in the United States of America, anywhere in America, just the increase, I mean, the cost of gas, the cost of eggs, the cost of childcare, the cost of rent, the cost of cars, the cost of everything, taxes still ongoing, jobs going away, wages not going up as fast as inflation is going up. This is causing some people to go underwater. I did an entire live on this about a year ago, folks. Those of you who are not familiar with me, I have episodes on my podcast. I have a podcast called Work on Your Game. It comes out every single day. On that podcast, let me tell you what episode that was, because I want some of you who are so inclined, you can go, thus inclined, you can look this up and listen to it yourself. I told you that the middle class is about to disappear. Episode number 3143. My podcast is called Work on Your Game. Look it up on Apple or Spotify. It's episode number 3143. 3143. I said there will be no middle class. Middle class is going away. There will not be a middle class. It's going to be rich people and poor people. And when I say rich and poor, what I mean is colloquially. There's going to be a lower class and an upper class. That's all we're going to have. There will be no middle class because of what I just explained. So I'm not telling everybody, quote unquote, to do this. I'm telling those of you who care to do it. Do what you got to do to get into the upper class. What's the first thing you do? Get on the right side of that cash flow quadrant. Start a business, even if it's a side hustle. Become an investor, even if you're micro investing in small stocks, crypto, whatever you like. Become an investor and a business owner. These put you on track to possibly take the ceiling off of your income potential. If all your money is coming from wages, there's a ceiling on your income potential. That's just the reality of the situation. That's the rational, logical reality of the situation. You cannot have a ceiling on your income potential and then at the same time say, well, I don't understand why I'm starting to go underwater financially. You can't do both at the same time. Well, you can, but it doesn't make any sense. Again, it will sound good when you get to hear from the Bernie Sanders and the Nina Turners of the world to make you feel good about your circumstance, but the circumstance ain't changing. That's the problem. And they're not telling you how to change. They're telling you, well, the government needs to do something. Government ain't going to do shit. How old are many of you? Y'all know better. Y'all know better. You're sitting around thinking that the government's going to do something. They're not going to do anything. Anything to change your situation. They're going to do something, but it's not going to help you. So you probably need to do something different. This is the reason why I emphasize, despite the fact that we talk about politics and the government here, I use them for content. I'm not depending on the government or looking to a politician to do anything for me. I don't care who they are. I will use them for content, but I'm not depending on or waiting on them to do anything. And if I am in a circumstance where something needs to be fixed, I'm not looking at the government like, hey, do something for me. All right, that's a bad idea. That's poor strategy, folks. So high incomes in some SNAP households, again, don't mean that low wage jobs are fine. Snap, I already mentioned that SNAP beneficiaries things. Now, corporate profits and low wages raise ethical concerns. This is the argument that people have. They're looking at the food on another person's plate, which is what you should never do. You should never look at the food on somebody else's plate, i.e. Jeff Bezos has this much money, so that means everybody who works at Amazon should make a certain amount of money. That's bullshit. How did Jeff Bezos get the money? Where were you at when Jeff Bezos was selling books out of his garage and not making any money? Where were you then in 1998 when he was doing that? You weren't working. You weren't working for him then. Okay, but now that everything's smooth on Amazon and they're the biggest damn company in the world, now you're coming to him like, look at all the money you got. You should give me a certain amount. No, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. What did Drake say in that song? Bitch, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Isn't that what he said? Were you shooting in the gym? So now you want the money, but you weren't with me shooting in the gym. When I was selling books out of my garage, Jeff Bezos, there's a book about him. I believe the guy's name is, what's the author's name? I think it's Jeff Stone, Brad Stone. It's called The Everything Store. It's about Jeff Bezos. I don't think Jeff has written his own book, but it's called The Everything Store. It was Drake. Chuck, it was Drake. It was a song called Stay Scheming by Rick Ross. Remember he said, Kobe about to lose 150 M's. Bitch, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. I'll skip the line, but you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. You wasn't shooting in the gym. Jeff Bezos was selling books out of his garage, not making any money on the internet back when people were afraid to put their credit card numbers on the internet. Any of you old enough to remember that? Put me if you remember back in the days when people were afraid to buy things on the internet because they were wary of putting their credit card number on a website. Any of y'all remember that? Put me in the comments if you remember the internet from back then. Okay. That's when Jeff Bezos started Amazon. Okay. Where were you then? So don't go to Amazon. So a bunch of you saying me, y'all know what I'm talking about. Where were you then? Now Jeff Bezos got $400 million. Now all of a sudden he's supposed to pay people more money just because he got it. He got what he got because what he did. He put up the risk. There was no guarantee Amazon was going to work. There was a whole bunch of companies back then that no longer exists. Y'all remember Excite? Remember this company called Excite? That used to, it was like a web service provider, Excite. It was very popular back at that time. Remember the BlackBerry phone? There's a lot of companies that didn't last. A lot of companies didn't survive. Remember MySpace? MySpace still exists, actually, technically. I mean, they fell down a lot. But anyway, they say the CEO to worker pay gap at large firms is 632 to 1. Yes, the dot-com bubble burst. A lot of those bubbles burst, and a lot of people lost a lot of money in that process. 632 to 1 is the CEO to worker pay gap in low-wage large firms, such as Amazon, such as Walmart. So for every $1 the worker makes, the CEO makes $632. And their frame is, because that gap is so big, that means something's wrong. This is the Bernie Sanders frame. This is the Nina Turner frame. This is the AOC frame. This is the Zohran Mamdani frame. This is the frame that a lot of people have. This is the Barack Obama frame, we're being honest. This is a frame that a lot of people on the political left have, that just because you have this much and I have this much, that must mean that something is wrong. I wholly disagree with this. I fundamentally disagree with this frame. Why do I fundamentally disagree? Again, I don't have $400 billion like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or whoever. Even if I only had $400, I still fundamentally disagree with it because my background, again, is in sports and I'm an entrepreneur. And in both areas, the results are what matter. Of course, the process matters, but the results are what matter. You're judged by the results. People don't care about your process until you produce a result. As an athlete, there was a long process going on for many years. It wasn't until I became pro that people cared about the process. Oh, how'd you do it? How do you practice? How do you learn how to dribble? How do you learn how to dunk? How do you work on your crossover? People cared about my process because they saw the outcome. You understand? That's the way it works in life. People notice your outcome, and when they see your outcome, then they want to know about the process. So a lot of people say, well, the process is what leads to the outcome. Well, mofo, if you don't get the outcome, nobody cares about your process. The people who started, there's a whole lot of companies started at the same time Jeff Bezos started Amazon. How many of them had books written about them? Not many, because many of them didn't make it. So nobody cares what you did. Nobody cares about your process of starting a business in 1998. You went out of business in 2002. Nobody wrote a book about that because nobody cares, because you didn't get the outcome. Life is a results-based business. It's not a process-based business. It's a results-based business. Your process only matters when your outcome is visible. When people can see your outcome, then they ask you how you did it. That's how it goes. But a lot of people who don't understand this frame, they say, well, the process matters just as much as the outcome. You get the outcome by running processes. Or some dummy was on X yesterday responded to me. I don't get into these back and forth people, but some dumb guy was like, well, when you run a business and you got a bunch of people working for you, and I run a business and the process matters a lot. That's how I get all the people working for me. But see, here's the thing. Until you produce a outcome that people care about in your business, nobody cares about your process. And who knows if this guy even runs a business? You get this on X all the time. People claiming that they do stuff and you don't even know who they are. When you get the outcome, everybody wants to know how you do it. How'd you do it? See this book right here behind me, this blue book? This book is called The Overseas Basketball Blueprint. You know why this book sells? Anybody want to know? Somebody guess. All right, most of you don't even play basketball. Anybody want to guess why this book sells? You know why people get this book? And I'm not selling you this book. Most of you don't play basketball. You're not trying to play overseas. You know why people go and order this book? This is another book I give out for free, by the way. So any of you want one of my books for free, you just want to read something? You get this at balloverseas.com. Any of you know why people get this book? It's a very simple answer. The frame, I just gave you the frame for why. Y'all should be able to answer this even if you don't play basketball. Does anybody want to guess why do people go get this book? It's a question for the audience. Somebody answer. Nobody has an answer? Somebody said free. No, not because it's free. I got a lot of books for free. The reason people get this book. Why do people go get this book? And people read this book. I think this book, of all the books that I have, this one probably gets read more than all the other ones, percentage-wise. Like how much of the book actually gets read? I think this one gets read the most. Micah answered it. Outcome. SWK's mom says because they love basketball. No, not because they love basketball. Stephen Albert got it right. They want your outcome. Micah Lynn, outcome. It's called the Overseas Basketball Blueprint. Christopher Barker said end result. Overseas Basketball Blueprint. Get it at balloverseas.com. People get this book because they know that I came from playing college and played Division III college, and then I went and played professional basketball for nearly a decade. Then I wrote a book about how to do it. That's the reason people get the book, because they want the outcome. The only reason they're interested in hearing it from me because they know I achieved the outcome, period. They want to know about the process. This is the process. Why they want to know about the process from me? Because they know I achieved the outcome. Had I not achieved the outcome, I could not write this book. That's what y'all got to understand. My book, The Third Day, is all about showing up every single day and doing the work. Why do people want to hear me talk about it? Because they see me doing it. Y'all understand? People care about the process retroactively. Once they see the outcome, then they say, how'd you do it? They don't say, how are you doing it? You didn't achieve an outcome yet. You didn't achieve success yet. Tell me about your process. Because nobody wants to trust the process and not sure it works. People want to know about the process after it works. So when people like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or the Walton family have all this money, yeah, they did something to get to their outcome. But that doesn't mean that they owe you something just because they did it. Again, where were you when they were doing the work? How many of you have read Sam Walton's book I think it's called Only in America or Made in America? I keep forgetting the title of this book. It's either Only in America or Made in America. How many of you read the book written by Sam Walton? That's the guy who started Walmart. If you have not read the book, put no. If you have read the book, put yes. How many of you have read that book? Made in America. Put yes or no if you have read the book Made in America by Sam Walton. Here's the cover of it right here. I read this book many years ago. This is before they even had digital books. All right, most of you have not read this book. Read this book. All right, all his heirs are billionaires because of this guy. This is the guy who started Walmart. It's called Sam Walton. It's called Made in America. And on Amazon, this book has 7,000 reviews, 4.5 star overall. His journey from owning a single 5 and dime store. They used to call them 5 and dime stores. That's where you literally pay a nickel or 10 cents to buy stuff. That's when he started. That's how long ago he started Walmart. And building Walmart, America's largest retail, while discussing competition, teamwork, family values, and the American dream. This is Sam Walton. I believe Walmart is based in Bentonville, Arkansas. I believe that's the right town. Bentonville. 368-page book. This book came out in 1993, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Walton's book. His heirs, again, are all billionaires. He died in 1992. Read that book and understand Sam Walton was shooting in the gym by himself. He would go into other 5 and dime stores. Before he started Walmart, here's what he would do. He would go to other stores in town and see how they were doing things. He would see how wide their shelves were, how high off the floor they were. Where did they put certain things on the shelves? He would measure. He would literally bring tape measure and measure how big their stuff was because he was competing against them. So he wanted to see everything they were doing so he could copy it and then do better on it and do all the stuff that Walmart ended up doing. That's how Walmart ended up being Walmart. Now that his family's worth billions of dollars, people are like, well, you should just give it to us because y'all got all that money. Did you do what he was doing when he was building that company in the 60s? Did you do that? No? Then you don't deserve to participate in the benefits. So from a business perspective, wage levels are set by all these things that we talked about, not the moral sentiment of you got money, so you got to give it to me. So worker subsidies via public assistance effectively lower employer labor costs. Yes, effectively. But when workers rely partially on SNAP or let's say something like Medicaid, the government is indirectly subsidizing corporate wage bills. I say that's one way of looking at it, but I don't agree with that frame. That the government is doing what corporate is supposed to be doing. I don't agree with that frame, but I understand some people may have it. Now, reducing reliance on public assistance requires wage growth, upward mobility, and stable hours. That I agree with. If you want fewer people on SNAP, then they have to get paid more money. If they don't get paid more money, there's going to be more people on SNAP. That means instead of the corporations paying these people who need the money, we, the taxpayers, are paying these people who need the money because there's a bunch of people who need money. They're going to get paid one way or another. Either the companies who employ them have to pay them, or we, the taxpayer, has to pay them. So which way do y'all want it? What y'all want it to be? Should we pay them or should the companies pay them? I'm actually offering y'all a false binary here. The answer should be neither one of us. That's the real answer, is neither one of us. The problem is if neither one of us paid, this is the reason why I'm not a politician. If neither one of us paid and we just left them to twist and win, then there'd be a whole bunch of poor people with no food, no clothing, no shelter, and we would have a huge peasant population, and that might lead to an uprising that many of us don't want. So again, this is the reason why I'm not a politician. My answer is the right answer, but it's actually is the right answer and the wrong answer at the same time. If y'all get what I'm saying. What I'm saying is logically accurate, but it is not workable to do that. Dog says they can't make it to the NBA. Fair enough. Fair enough. So firm level solutions matter. Companies with internal promotion tracks and stable scheduling help reduce reliance on benefits. Internal promotion tracks and stable scheduling. Yeah, how many people qualify for that? All right. So one company said if you do internal promotion, it reduces dependence. I agree with that. You promote from the inside. A lot of companies do. I don't think that's going to solve the problem, though. It's not happening enough. And not everybody who works at a company wants the upper mobility. They just want the money. They just want to show up at 9, leave at 5, do the bare minimum, and they want to make enough money to take care of their food, clothing, shelter. And they're not willing to give more in order to get more. It's another reason why I can't work in the government, folks, because too much of me telling the truth will come out, and I would piss off too many people, and I would not win an election because I would really tell the truth. And when you're talking to the masses of people, you tell the truth, you're going to piss off the masses of people because I would tell you the truth. The masses of people don't think, they don't read, they're lazy. They don't want to work hard. They don't want any upper mobility. They don't want to give more to get more. They just want you to give them more just because they exist. They don't deserve it. As soon as I say that, my campaign is over. All my donors are pulling their money out, and that's the end of me being in politics. So if you want to know if I ever get into politics, that's the reason why I would not. I don't have the mentality to be a politician. To be a politician, you got to lie to people. So promotion alone does not fix wage issues. So hourly wages, part-time scheduling remain key. Many large firms use part-time labor to keep costs flexible. And again, they don't owe it to people. This is the fundamental issue here. So raising the minimum wage, mandating scheduling transparency, incentivizing full-time work could drive bottom line change. I'd say no, none of this does that. None of this does that. These are all band-aids that you put on a situation. What would drive more people having their money situation solved is if more people actually did productive things that provided value in the marketplace such that people are willing to give money in exchange for the product or service that you are offering or creating. That's what would actually solve the problem. The problem with that problem is that you need a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of personal initiative. And the real problem is most people have no initiative. They are wanting things without giving anything. And compounding that problem, there are a bunch of politicians who are co-signing them having this mentality. I'm not going to give anything extra. I'm not going to do anything extra. I have no personal initiative, but I have these financial needs and somebody needs to solve these financial problems for me. And there are politicians out there co-signing and championing these nonsense ideas. That's the actual issue here. If more people were just more industrious, enterprising, coming up with ideas and figuring out how to get their products and services out into the marketplace in exchange for money, we would solve this problem very quickly. If you just have more people doing that. The reality is there's a whole bunch of people who are okay with proverbially being a cashier at Walmart or running a register at Family Dollar, making $8, but claiming that they need 25. And what are they going to do to change the situation? They're not going to do anything. They're going to vote for Bernie and hope that it works out. That's all they're going to do. This is the truth of human nature. And see, if I was a politician, if I came out and said that, again, my campaign would be over. If you want to be a successful politician, you have to know what I just said. AOC knows this. Bernie Sanders knows this. And you have to talk as if what they're doing is justified. And then you just got to come up with justifications. You supply them the justifications, such as, hey, Jeff Bezos has $400 billion. That's not fair. Hey, Elon Musk is worth $400 billion. That's not fair. Hey, Donald Trump is just trying to enrich his billionaire friends. That's not fair. So you got to come up with these justifications to sell the poor people on their own bullshit. That's how you win political elections, by the way. And if you want to be a politician, take that with you. I'm not going to be a politician, so you only have to say you stole it from me. Just take it. This is how it works. Now, many people frame Walmart as the poster child for wage and subsidy misuse because 24% of money that is spent by SNAP recipients goes to Walmart. Did y'all know that? According to what I found, 24% of all money spent via food stamps is spent at Walmart. Walmart collects 24% of food stamp money. I say, so what? You're offering a product or service, people want to buy it. That's an even exchange. That's a fair exchange. You came to my store, you have money, we take the money, we give you the stuff, everybody's happy. This is business. Now, singling out one company, as I just pointed out, it ignores industry-wide dynamics. So many retail service firms have a lot of part-time workers, low margins, variable scheduling, and they face the same wage subsidy tensions. This is just going to continue going on. And ultimately, the debate asks the question, is it the employer's job to pay what people need, a living wage, or is it not? Yes or no? Comments. Is it the employer's job to pay a living wage? Yes or no? What do y'all think? Is it the employer's job or is it the employee's job to go get the living wage? Yes, if the employer should do it. No, if the employee needs to go get it. What do y'all think? I saw one yes at the beginning, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of no's. Now, you all may be a specific subset of the population. But if this was a complete, if this is a subset of the full population of America, it would be yeses and no's in here. I'm seeing a whole bunch of no's. But this is this is how it goes, folks. We are gonna go a little bit overtime here today because I know I talked a lot. So we might go to about 10:30. I do need to take a restroom break. This one is a guaranteed restroom break I need to take right now. Give me 90 seconds, folks, and then we will get to using our soundboard, some of our favorite sounds, such as strawberry cheesecake. And I'm going to guess. I'm going to make a bet. Which one do I think I'm going to use a lot today? I think we're going to use a whole lot of this one. Emotional, damn it. Give me 90 seconds, and we may get to use a little bit of this one.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. My son was saying that off camera a few weeks ago. So he remembered it. So let's see what we got in the comments here. O Dog said, God ideally are those with power to enforce their will. We the people aren't what people think it is. The people aren't everybody. The people are movers and shakers of society, have economic leverage, not a bunch of ignorant, overaged teeny boppers. So that I agree with. O Dog said, let's not call it capitalism anymore. Let's call it a free open market. Then we will see how Marxists can demonize freedom in a market. Okay, I understand. O Dog says, the worker's job to make a livable wage can't demand freedom but provision at the same time. That I agree with. Good point. Let's see. Over on Instagram, we got a couple comments. Then we'll come over to you folks on TikTok. Will Avila said, I'm sure the book tells Business Foundation. Which book you talking? All of them do. The ones I mentioned here today. Timothy said, the Republicans can send 40. What are you referring to? Will Avila said, better your life, learn, add skills, and hustle. You won't need to depends on government or anyone else. Agreed. Timothy said, the Republicans sent $40 billion to Argentina instead of putting the money in this country. Make it make sense. Well, a lot of money gets allocated and a lot of stuff we don't even know about. So I get what you're saying. The same way that we do with military spending. There's always that conversation. A. Okafor said, before I waste my time, who do you vote for? I voted for myself. I did a whole live stream on that. A. Okafor, look it up. It came out about this time last year. Who to vote for 2024. The video's on YouTube. Just look me up. My name's Dre Baldwin. The video is easy to find. It's public. Federal court said middle class won't disappear. We will switch to socialism before it does. Reason Mamdani is popular. I don't know. I'm going to challenge you on that one. We'll see. I don't think we're going to switch to socialism. I think the middle class is going away. Quail Riz said, ChatGPT says no household making over 80K will be eligible for SNAP. Well, that's what I heard. So I don't know. You might be right. What I found might be right. Who knows? It's all on the internet. All the internet is people saying stuff. That's all the internet is. Factory Rat said, what was that podcast number again? The one about the middle class was episode number 3143 was the episode where I talked about why the middle class is disappearing. Yes, 3143. Jeff Johnson had it right. Yes, we did 120K likes. Leah, thank you. Sherman Seegers, thank you for the share. Okafor asking who I voted for. Why would you ask that question as if it should weigh in whether or not you should listen or whether or not you're going to agree with anything that I said? Whether I voted for the last election, I'm assuming. Let's say I voted for Kamala. Does that mean you're going to agree with everything I say or disagree with everything I say? Or let's say I voted for Trump. Would that also mean you would agree with or disagree with everything I say? Either way, that's a false frame. That's a bad way to decide whether or not you should listen to a person based on who they voted for. You should listen to the quality of their arguments and then decide based on that, not based on, well, who did you vote for? And if we agree on this one thing, then I'll listen to you. And if we disagree on this one thing, then I won't listen to you. That's a childish way of making a listening decision, if you ask me. And since you are in my comments.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Federal court said, forgetting people have the power. The middle class won't disappear without us trying socialism first. Well, the whole concept of the oligarchy, federal court, is that the people don't have the power and that all the power is collected in the hands of a few. So it depends on who you believe. Barrett Dozier said, right, thank you. Federal court says, as soon as disappear, we'll switch to socialism. I don't know. I don't think it's going to go that far. We're going to see how Mr. Mamdani does in New York, if he indeed wins. I think he's going to win, but we'll see. KB said the AOL dial-up. Yes, shout out to the AOL dial-up. Shout out to AOL Instant Messenger. Steph Funny said me, but I still am sometimes, to be honest. All right, fair enough. Rick Thomas said, I'm afraid to put CC numbers on the internet. You're still afraid to put CC numbers on the internet? Well, Rick, here's one thing that will help you. Your credit card number is already on the internet. You just don't know it. All right, so don't worry about it. The good thing about a credit card is if there's a fraudulent charge, usually they're pretty good at dropping it off of your account anyway. They got a budget for fraud. They got $1 billion yearly budget for credit card fraud. Chuck said, the point you're making is nonsense. you should say why is nonsense instead of just saying that. So explain to me why whatever you're referring to is wrong. KB said, I support Elon's $1 trillion raise. Yeah, well, who okayed the raise? His company? I mean, he's the one providing value. He should get a raise. Kmart, yeah, that's another good example. Kmart, Sears, somebody mentioned Sears, Spiegel. Remember, used to be this catalog called Spiegel. My grandma used to get it. The Spiegel, it was a Spiegel catalog. They would send you this big magazine in the mail with all this stuff you could buy, and then you would call them and you would buy it over the phone. They would mail it to your house. Christopher said, remember BlackBerry? Yes, I had a BlackBerry. Chuck said, I'm done, this guy. Chuck, you're not done. That's why you left the comment. Jeff said, disagree with wealth redistribution. There will be no wealth redistribution. It's not going to happen. Joe Byron, thank you for the gifts. Jenna Neal said, mentality of being paid because one exists versus their value, intelligence, or worth is lost on most. I think, Jenna, most people understand it. They just don't want to accept it because it puts the onus of responsibility on the person. And most people don't want that, especially when you have politicians out there, the Bernie Sanders of the world, telling you that the onus is not on you, it's on the companies and the government. Carla, glad to see you back. Steven said they want the outcome. Yes, that's correct. That book is called Overseas Basketball Blueprint. You get it at balloverseas.com. Jeff said that was Walmart's start made in America. That's the book is all about how he started Walmart. Christopher Barker said his story is cool. Yes, it's a very good book. Bentonville, that's what I thought. Linda said, yes, but Sam would be turning over his grave if he knew what was going on now. How so, Linda? Why do you say that? G Black, thanks for the heart. JJ said, people are lazy and want something they didn't work for. Yes, this is human nature, JJ. That's always been true. Jenna said, brilliant instead of recreating the wheel, he modified what already existed. Way to think smarter. Yeah, he explains all that in the book. G Black, member level 15, congrats. Federal court said Walmart created tax laws to game the system. If they didn't, would have had to sell company to pay taxes. Well, I'm sure they game the system a lot. But the thing is, when you provide that much value to the system, i.e. jobs, and you're helping the economy move, you get to game the system. So I understand they did game the system. Elon games the system. Jeff Bezos games the system. People who are providing a ton of value to the system get to game the system. That's the way the system is designed. It benefits those who are providing the most value. Sweet Tea, thanks for the share. Yeah, I got what you meant. JJ said, people are lazy. Yes, they are. Marisol, Mighty Soul said, everyone should be their own boss. I don't know about everyone. Most people are not built to be bosses. But everyone who is so inclined should be their own boss. And then you get the people who don't want to be bosses to work for you. Leah said, facts. Jeff Johnson said, you become your own boss is very motivating. Yes, it is. It's challenging, too. Camulus said, preach. Thank you. Barry at Dozier said, people are comfortable being uncomfortable. Well, some people, not everybody. Leah, thank you for the DJ glasses. Camulus, thanks for the heart. Christy, member level 11, congrats. Your boy said, I agree with everything you say. Thank you. Chelsea, good morning. Jeff Johnson says, wages raise, the cost of products goes up. Yes, that's true. It would just increase the price of everything that we're paying for. Federal court said everyone can't be their own boss. 80% of new businesses fail. Well, that's not the reason why they can't be their own boss. I don't think everyone should be their own boss because then you ain't going to have anybody to work because everybody's a boss. But everyone's not going to do it. It's those who are so inclined and want to take more control over your situation. Like right now on TikTok, it's 210 people watching. Instagram says 3. Over here on Rumble Studio, I see 30, 38. Then there's Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm not looking at all of those. And then you got the replays. So this is not everyone. This is a very small percentage of the population. Alex Nunez said, how many of us have coworkers who don't do anything at work? Everybody does. But they're still collecting money, right? Barry Dozier, thanks for the follow. DJ Chillwill, thanks for the share. Steven, thank you for the Night Star and the member level 13. Federal court said capitalism means Walmart comes in and kills some small company had to adapt a higher chance of failure. Yes, Walmart does come in and destroy companies. That's why people protest against Walmart's getting built because they know the small businesses are going to get choked out. They were trying to build a Walmart in Midtown Miami. This is probably about 2010. Walmart was trying to build. There's a big empty lot in the middle of Midtown Miami. Any of you in Miami, y'all know that big lot right there in the middle of Midtown? And this is a huge lot. You could build a super Walmart in this lot. And this is right in the middle of the city. This is prime real estate. That lot has been sitting empty for 15 years. Walmart was trying to buy it so that they could build a Walmart there, and a bunch of city people connected with the local government and just residents rallied so hard against the Walmart that they were able to block it. But there's all kinds of, back in the days, used to be all kinds of websites. Nowadays, it's probably videos and stuff of people explaining why Walmart's a bad idea. They don't like the element of people it brings around. They don't like the fact that it destroys small businesses. They don't like the fact that it creates a ton of pollution and trash. There's a lot of pushback against the existence of Walmart, especially in the middle of a big city. They had built that Walmart in the middle of Miami, that whole town would be completely different than how it is now. But that lot is still sitting there. Maybe we should build the Work on Your Game stadium right there in the middle of that lot. But the lot is huge. And they haven't been able to get anybody in it for 15 years. Chelsea said, when you make more money, you spend is never going to end. Fair enough. Steven said, I need to figure out how to get the time to get more involved with your stuff. Steven, get into the Power Presence Protocol Challenge coming up November 10th. It's only 5 days. When we ask you, if you're a VIP, it'll be 90 minutes a day. If you're a general, it'll be 60 minutes a day. Jenna said, no, if employers pay living wage and everyone makes the same and is not based on work. Well, not everyone make the same. You can still pay some people more than the living wage, but a lot of people will be getting a baseline amount that they didn't earn. That's why it will be a problem. CW66 said employees should be motivated to improve so they are above the minimum wage level. Well, CW, you're correct. And in a perfect world, that's how it would be. But in this world, maybe about 10% of people have that mentality. But you are directionally right. DJ Chill said, it's your job to ask what you think you're worth. That's right. And then go get it. That's the next step. Sherry said, those who didn't agree with you left the chat. That's why it's all no. Probably. You're right. Good point. Christy, thank you for the follow. I lost my spot. Steve Moore said, doesn't really matter. AI is going to take all the jobs. AI is good for no one. Well, AI is going to take a lot of jobs, not all of them. And AI is good for anyone who knows how to use AI. So you just need to learn how to use AI. If we believe AI is coming, then all of you should learn how to use AI. Simple as that. Live Free said, I think everyone should quit their jobs. That wouldn't be good. EJ Store said, do you have some peasant cheesecake? What does that mean? XCR said, minimum wage jobs were entry-level jobs, usually for teenagers not supporting families. This is correct. The minimum wage shouldn't even be called minimum wage. It should be called entry-level wage. If you called it that, then it would make more sense so that if someone's been working that job for 10 years, it shouldn't still be at that level. Steve said, Amazon is getting rid of 150,000 jobs due to AI. Yeah, that's right. And they're about to get rid of 150,000 more after that when they keep developing more AI. Every morning when I go outside, whether I'm going outside to run or I'm going to go to the gym, you know what I see? And I work out early, so it's usually about 4 or 5 in the morning. I see a bunch of cars, and 90% of the cars that I see are people with those Amazon vests on, delivering Amazon products. In the next 10 years, you won't see those people. You'll still see cars, but it's not going to be a person, a human getting out. It's going to be a robot getting out, delivering packages. A lot of people work for Amazon, delivering stuff. Those people are all about to get eliminated. The jobs, not the people, the jobs. Cheryl Smalley, thanks for the share. So what people should do, if you deliver for Amazon, here's what you should do. You need to learn how those things work, those robots that are going to be delivering the packages, and you need to start a business where you own the robots, and then you contract those out to Amazon so you can do the deliveries in Palm Beach. You can do deliveries in Fort Lauderdale. You can do the deliveries in Kendall. And you just own that area and you do all the deliveries, managing your fleet of autonomous robot-driven cars. You just need to get into the business. Don't be mad of technology taking jobs. All you got to do is learn how to use the technology so that you can create a company and you can make money off the technology rather than becoming a victim of it. Cheryl Smalley, thanks for the share. Gary Keenan, thank you for the follow. Rick Thomas said, 40 billion is a money exchange that should make a profit. Right. I agree with that. Brian Doro, thank you for the share. Christopher Barker said, socialism and middle class is all but gone. I agree. CC said, the middle class disappears. Who's going to be the backbone of the country? Robots and computers, CC. Elizabeth Webb said, joining from the hospital again as a patient. Well, I hope everything's okay, Elizabeth. Thank you for watching from the hospital. DJ Chill Will said Woolworth. That's another one. I remember Woolworth. Woolworth was a five and dime store, similar to Walmart. And they had a nice run. They just didn't last. Your boy said, you remember Spiegel? Yeah, I remember Spiegel. Finger Hut? I don't remember Finger Hut. I don't really remember Spiegel. I just remember my grandma used to always mention it because I think my grandma used to buy her clothes out of Spiegel. She always talked about the Spiegel catalog. There was another department store. What was that department store called? It was, I can't remember. I'll think of it in a second. Boscov's. Remember Boscov's? Nick, so I haven't been able to watch for a bit, but I truly admire how you show all perspectives. Well, thank you, Nick. Ebook outlet said Woolworth went out of business. Yeah, we know. EJ Store said people should build skills that generate an income instead of waiting for the perfect job. Well, EJ Store, you're correct. In a simulated perfect world, that's exactly what people would do. Most people ain't that. Luxury Homes with Celia said ignorance comes from only one side. Discernment comes from studying and observing both. Good point. Fair enough. B. Ray, thanks for the rose. Katie said, I own a business and I miss being not the boss every day. There's more work when you're the boss. There's more responsibility. Christopher said, being your own boss requires great work ethic. Everyone does not have great work ethic. That's right. It requires great work ethic. It requires a certain mentality. It requires some balls and it requires a strong stomach. All of those. DJ Chill Will, thanks for sharing with more than 10 people. Lucky 7 said inflation goes up, yet wages do not. Which one is worse? Well, wages do go up. It's just not as fast as inflation goes up. So which one is worse? I think they're kind of both screwing people over if they don't do anything about it. DJ Chill Will said Walmart owns Dollar General, Family Dollar, and Dollar Tree. I didn't know that. Is that true? I didn't know that. Christopher Barker says superstores like Walmart hurts mom and pop stores, which hurts small town business. Yes, that's the frame. That's the reason why a lot of people don't like Walmart, because they put small businesses out of business quickly and ruthlessly. Raw Pagan, thanks for the follow. Vintage Toy Gallery said Walmart today seems very different than what it was in the 90s, most of the shoppers and workers. I agree. Walmart has positioned itself as a low budget type of place. This is the reason why they fought so hard to keep it out of Midtown Miami, because it would have changed the flavor of that neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood now. It would not be that had they put a Walmart in the middle of that town. I wouldn't have minded there being a Walmart, but I understand why people didn't want there to be one, because it brings a bunch of low budget people around. And that neighborhood is not a low budget neighborhood. Not today, it isn't. Federal court said if employer don't pay livable wage, society picks up the slack. Can't have low tax and no livable wage. This is true. Jenna said drone delivery. Yeah, that's the other thing. Drones and autonomous cars are going to be doing all the Amazon deliveries. Right now, it's people. I see Amazon delivery drivers every morning, early in the morning. The only people I see in cars are Amazon delivery drivers. But that's about to go away. Federal court said doesn't trickle down mean company pay low tax so they can use money to create high paying jobs? Theoretically. Trickle down means a lot of things, but theoretically that's what it means, but that's not always what happens. EJ Store said, I retired from a company to make more money, and not all jobs AI can do, such as construction. And yes, that's right. And a lot of people talk about AI taking all the jobs, but AI can't do everything. And human connection is still something that people want. AI cannot replace human connection. So people need to develop their soft skills. I did a whole series on soft skills. Let me tell you what episode that is. On my podcast, which I put out every single day, folks, I talk about all of these things in more detail than even what I'm giving you all here. Episode 1772, I did a 5-part series on the 21 must-have career soft skills. That's a 5-part series, episode 1772, where I talk about soft skills. XTR says, all about framing, need to change the names of job, wages, entry-level, starter, advanced. Yes, I agree. Amy said Montgomery Ward. Was that a business? I don't remember them. Sears, I remember very well. Sears, do they still got stores? Sears still got locations? Montgomery Ward I've heard of, but I don't remember it. I don't think I ever shopped there. Jay Rocker said, best. I love that catalog in store. Which one? You talking about Sears or Spiegel? Finger Hut? I don't remember Finger Hut. Woolworth, I do remember. Yo boy says Woolworth on Germantown Avenue. I don't remember that one. I remember Woolworth inside of a mall, in Plymouth Meeting Mall. I don't remember it on Germantown Avenue. That might predate me. Pep Boys. Pep Boys out of business? I know Pep Boys. Is Pep Boys out of business? Jay Rocket said Boscov's is still around. I didn't know that. I didn't know Boscov's was still kicking. Finger Hut was from the 80s. Yeah, that's a little bit before my time to remember. Montgomery Ward, I don't remember. Home Base, I don't remember. There's still Boscov's in the Philly suburbs. I did not know that. Kmart, I know about. Corvettes, I don't know. Zayers, I don't know. Heckingers, they were like a that was like a what do you call those things? Like a hardware store, right? Wasn't Heckingers like a hardware store? I remember that name. I haven't thought that name in a long time, but I do remember. Marky Man said, "How come people don't complain about Sam's Cart? Do they pay more than Walmart, Sam's Club? Because they're not as big. They just complain because they're the biggest one. Dollar General is older than Walmart. I didn't know that. CC, robotic computers don't pay taxes. Yes, and they also don't go on break. They don't need health care. They don't need cigarette breaks. They don't need to eat lunch. A lot of things." Christopher said, "Walmart does not own Dollar General. Dollar General scares Walmart. They are in every small town." Okay, well, I guess now we got to figure this out. So now we got an argument as to what Walmart owns. All right. Does Walmart own stores like Dollar General and Family Dollar or any other dollar stores? Let's see what Grok has to say about this. So, no, they say Walmart does not own them. Dollar General is publicly traded. It is owned by institutional investors like Vanguard. They have 20,000 stores. They're a direct competitor to Walmart. I didn't know that. Now, Family Dollar was sold by Dollar Tree to a private equity company for $1 billion in 2015. Is now as an independent company, Family Dollar. Dollar Tree is publicly traded and is separate from Walmart. So Walmart's actual portfolio, they have Sam's Club, a bunch of international companies. They don't own any dollar chains or discount stores. So Walmart actually sold some Walmart Express stores to Dollar General in 2016. So Dollar General bought some Walmarts. So they were in a bidding war for Family Dollar, but Dollar Tree beat them. Well, Walmart never actually made a bid, but Dollar Tree beat Dollar General. Walmart wasn't in it. It was Dollar Tree and Dollar General were fighting over Family Dollar, and Dollar Tree beat Dollar General. So all these dollar stores. I remember a store that was just called Everything's a Dollar. That was just the name of the store. Everything's $1 was the name of the store. From way back. They're not in business anymore, but they probably got bought up. DJ Chill Will said, "Why Sears go out of business?" Well, every company goes out of business for the same reason. They run out of money or they get bought out. JC Penney, I definitely remember. Jay Rocker said the store was best. Which store? You just said Boscov's is still at Plymouth Meeting Mall. They are? Okay. Last time I was in Plymouth Meeting Mall, when was I? I was in Philly. I think it was 2022. I went up there to the Plymouth Meeting Mall. I don't go there every time I go to Philly. I used to work at many stores in there. But they still have But last time I was in Plymouth Meeting Mall was dead. I was like, what the hell happened to this mall? It used to be a very happening place. And now it's like a piece of shit. So hopefully they bring it back. I like that mall. Federal Court says Circuit City, but found that they own CarMax, so I guess they're still around. Circuit City? I think I bought my first laptop from Circuit City, if I remember. Your boy said I'm older than you, Dre. Yeah, you probably are. CC said, Amanda, you still get Finger Hut in the mail? No, I never heard of them. Blockbusters. Yeah, they could have bought Netflix. I remember that. Ben Franklin Department Store? That I don't know. Sam's and Walmart. Yeah, I know that. I know Sam's and Walmart are the same company. Or same umbrella. Best, I don't remember. Bradley's, I remember the name. Montgomery Ward, I don't remember. So a bunch of you mentioned that, but I don't remember. XTR said we have a Dollar General in Shingletown. Dollar General I see all the time. They're big. Dolphin said we had everything for a dollar store years ago. I remember that store from back in the day. Yeah, so Boscov's and Plymouth Meeting, a bunch of you saying. Jay Rocket said there was a store called Best. No one else remembers it? I don't remember that. Bruce said Best was the name of the store. They had a big catalog every year. So somebody does remember it. Right after that, Bruce said he remembers it. Fry's Electronics don't remember. Googleplex said Pep Boys still open. I just pulled up to work. They're still Pep Boys? Okay. Federal said they close businesses because they don't adapt well. They're stuck in their way and don't see changing environment. This is true. All right, so we're going to wrap this up, everybody. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. You want to get into my Power Presence Protocol. You see the manual up there that goes to everybody who is inside of my mastermind, which is we're going to offer that on the back end of the challenge. The challenge is starting on November the 10th. which is a week from this upcoming Monday. O-Dog said, Pep Boys is out of the part selling market, but they still provide service. Okay. You see a bunch of Nissan Altimas with damaged bumpers in the parking lot. You're a single mom, go to Target. Walmart's about to snap shoppers in Everest College graduates. Yeah, is crazy. So, Power Presence Protocol, that's a link in my profile. You want to learn how to command attention, shift the energy, and leave an imprint on people without speaking a single word. That's what the Power Presence Protocol is all about. Then when you actually do things and say things, all it does, those serve as multipliers of what people already got the impression of you about before you said anything. That is 85% of the job. You want to make more sales, win more friends, influence more people, get more things done, and have yourself seen as a high-level individual without talking at all is the Power Presence Protocol. That's the link in my profile. You can send me a text to the number 305-384-6894 with the word power, and we will send you more information on Power Presence Protocol. Get my book, Third Day, The Decision that Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. The book's free. Just cover shipping. ThirdDayBook.com, or text me the number 3. Text me the number 3. We'll send you a link to get this book for free. ThirdDayBook.com. And I will be back tomorrow. Today is Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. for the next live topic is always to be determined, usually a current event. Always going to be something of value. So I appreciate the regulars in here consistently in the comments and the likes. 130,000 likes here today. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you to the new people who are in here. If you want to work with me directly or communicate with me directly, don't do the DM. Send me a text. Text me at my number, 305-384-6894. That's the best way to reach me directly. Get into the Power Presence Protocol. That link is in my bio and my profile on every app that y'all watch me on. My replays are always on YouTube. And that is that. Everybody have a great Wednesday. I will see everybody tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. We are out of here. Work on your game. We're gone.